The next project on the Back to Basics series is a nightstand. Now, the design includes a drawer and drawer assembly, which can be omitted by merely installing a blank rail. However, the nightstand design should incorporate a drawer, and while Dowelmax won't make the job easy, it will certainly make it easier, and it will certainly make it stronger too. Now, apart from this video, I'll do two separate videos to show the drawer assembly and the drawer slide assembly, and that will prove my point. Now, in the next segment of this video, I will show a complete dry fit assembly. And in the final segment, I will show you how to set up and achieve these same joints. Let's get started. Now, the first joint I'm going to demonstrate is this one here. This is a front elevation, end elevation of the nightstand. It's this joint here, which is the drawer fascia to the leg, and I'll also incorporate this stiffener, 1x2 stiffener down below. So that's the first one. Now, there's a slight departure from what I normally do with this arrangement. You have, in order to incorporate these two side pieces here, this has dowel fastenings in here, so we have to try and avoid them. So we were doing two in the top, 1x2, and two in the bottom, and one in the center. This also helps to stabilize this one here. So we begin. This is 1 3/4 wide, and I don't want to center, just have a relief, so I'm going to use 2 1/8 inch spaces for a 1/4 inch relief. And of course we start off by doing our check marks. I should do it properly. Check marks. So this is these are reference faces here, these two. So you have 2 check marks on there. These are reference edges, 2 check marks on there, and an X on the surfaces to be drilled, just to keep everything square and true. Okay, now we bring a check mark here to there, and this one to here. Bring it up. get it absolutely level there. Now I've already drilled these so to save time. So now I'm going to drill this first one just to let you see. I mean, it will not take out any extra material, which indicates that the system is true and accurate to within thousandths of an inch. So 1 and 2. Then now we're going to use the short distance gauge. I can't use the indexing pin in this particular case. Make sure it's level and centered. Bring it up here. And then drill number 1, 4 and 5. And that's that one finished. Now to do this one, remove this distance gauge, and this is an extended distance gauge already set I should say. Once again, particularly this long one, make sure it's centered, and then drill 1 and 2 so that we can set the 1x2 stiffener. So that's that one. Now we come to this. I'll do the opposite end because it's easier that way. Now this is 3/4 wide, so we have to remove these, of course, and go into the normal configuration. Now it's the same thing again. Go to your check marks, which are here and here, and there and there. Put this on here. Drill 1 and 2, slide it along. Use the same setting on the short distance gauge. Drill number 1 and 4 and 5. And that's that one finished. And the same for the 1x2. Once again, go to your check marks here, install it there. Bring it up to here, drill 1 and 2. Very, very straightforward. And now the acid test. Now that is a perfect joint. There we are. And this will not pull out, it won't fail. I have furniture that I built 25 years ago using 100% Dowelmax arrangement, and it's still in use today, almost in a daily use, and there's no sign of any failure. These joints will not fail. The next joint to demonstrate is actually on the end elevation. Here's a side rail for the drawer. This is the front here. The drawer comes in out this way. This is a side rail, and this is not a joint. This is the part of the lower shelf. So we'll demonstrate this one here. And once again, we begin by inserting our check marks. These two are reference faces, 2 check marks here. These are 2 reference edges. Check mark here, check mark there. An X on here and an X on that surface to be drilled. Now once again we just want a nice relief, so we're going to use a 1/4 inch. So we've got the 2 1/8 of an inch spaces in between the reference bracket and the reference block. Once again, we go to our check marks here, up there, bring it up, get it flush. Tighten up your clamp screws. Drill, in this case, drill 1 and 2, slide it down, you preset your distance gauge. Now, there's a whole lot of different ways you can do. There's a myriad of different systems you can use. Sometimes it's better to have a short setting here so that you've got this firmly clamped onto the piece. But in this particular case, I'm not doing that. So bring it up to the edge, butt edge of your distance gauge, and once again drill 1 and 2. We'll do the opposite edge of this here. It's the same thing. Check mark and check mark. Remove the 2 1/8 inch spacers, of course. Now back to our normal configuration for 3/4 inch wood. Once again, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. And with that, bring it up to the end. Drill 1 and 2, slide it along. Get it nice and level and centered. Bring this on, tighten this. This is a particular case where you might actually be better to move this here, adjust your depth gauge to that, and then drill whichever it is down here, rather than this way, which is you've only got 1 clamp screw on there, so that you would be drilled through 1 and 2 in this particular case. And very straightforward. Once again, check mark to check mark, just like that. That's right. Now, although that's only got four dowels in it, it's extremely strong. It's probably fail at around, at least 800 pounds. So it's a very, very strong joint, very, very accurate. The next demonstration involves the shelf unit, the 2 1x2s attached to the leg, and the centre shelf itself, which is a 1/2 inch thick. This is the arrangement. The shelf unit itself is made up of 3 panels, and they're all joined by dowels, and then these are attached to these 1x2s, which are again attached to the 4 legs. Now, we begin again. When I start something like this, you always start all the same from one end and move down, or from this end and move up. It doesn't matter. But start off by trimming square and true your edges here, and then start from there. So there'll be 2 check marks on these 2 reference faces here, and the 2 reference edges, and X's on the surface to be drilled. Same with this one, 2 check marks, and the X's as well. Now, this the shelf is actually 1/2 inch wide, thick. So we have to use the formula. 1/2 inch, half is obviously a 1/4 inch, less 3/8 is minus 1/8. So instead of, with the minus, instead of expanding the device, you're actually shrinking it. So we install this 1/8 of an inch spacer with the 2 screws onto the reference bracket. Once again, we come to our check marks, check mark to check mark, check mark to check mark. And in this case, we're going to drill, we align it to the end here, clamp it, and drill 2 and 3. Slide it along, and I've set this up at 5.5 inches. Make sure it's square and true. Come along, butt against, drill 1 and 2. Come along here, do exactly the same thing in the last hole, and then clamp it and drill 1 and 2. You just do the same with the opposing piece, and that's all there is to it. And the perfect seam, you can't see the joins. Perfect joint. The next step is to join the 1/2 inch shelf unit to the end rail or shelf support. These are, once again, we start at one end, and these are your reference faces, although they're far apart, doesn't matter, there are still reference faces. Check mark here, check mark there, check mark on this end, check mark on this edge, and X here and X on there. And now you can do this 2 ways. It's really a face joint, so you can use it in this configuration, which would be like that, drilling in that way. but we don't really need to in this case because it's not too wide, so we can actually use it in this configuration. Now I'm using the 3/8 spacer here. You can see that there. The 3/8 spacer is used just to bring it down, and so we do. I miss one to do 2 and 3, slide it along, and I've set this at 4 and 9/16. Make sure it's level, and drill 1 and 2, slide it along, put this back in the last hole, again make sure it's true and level, and then do 3 and 4, and that's it finished. The shelf unit is done exactly the same way as you do this, just with a different spacing. That's exactly, and using 1/4" dowels. Very strong, there's no reason to worry about. Once again, another perfect joint. As I say, these two ends attach into the respective legs. The next demo is the nightstand top, and it's very similar to the shelf assembly, except that this one has 4 panels, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Once again, we start off by make sure you get rid of all the nice even surfaces here where your joins are, so you don't see any gaps. And then, as I say, begin at one end and work down and trim all these so that they're absolutely square and true. And then you put check marks, these 2 reference faces, check marks, check mark, check mark on the ends, check mark, and X's on the surface to be drilled. And you do exactly the same here and exactly the same there, and then they'll all be level up here. So we're also using 3/8. This is 7/8 thick, so we're using 3/8 dowels for this, for fastenings. Okay, now this is 7/8, so 7/8 thick. So 7/8 half is 7/16 minus 3/8 is a 16th. So we install a 16th spacer. It's this one between the reference bracket and the reference block, and that will center you spot on. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. As long as this is exactly 7/8, then this will be bang in the center. You bring this up to here, check mark to check mark, check mark to check mark. Sorry, this end, we're working from this end. So bring this up to here, level it, drill through 2 and 3, move it along. Now I've set this up at 7.5 inches. Set it in centered, drill 1 and 2, move along into the last 4, make sure it's level, and drill 2 and 3 again. And that's all there is to it. Very straightforward. You are virtually almost perfect, and you can't really see the joins. Once it's glued and clamped, you won't see any of the joins. The next joint I'm going to demonstrate is difficult to see on here. It's the one parallel to but behind the fascia joint, the rear one, which would be the one here going that way. So let's show that one. Now, as I say before we start, we have our check marks, check mark, check mark, these 2 reference faces, these 2 reference edges, X on here with the face to be drilled, and X on here. Okay. This is the lower support for the shelf. Now once again I want a quarter relief, so we've got the 2/8 of an inch spaces in there, reference to your check mark and to the end here. And in this case what we do here is drill 2, 3 and 5. Slide it down, put the indexing pin in the last bore, and then we drill 2, 4 and 5. And that gives us 6, which is probably a little overkill, but nevertheless. And then to do the bottom one, we use the same get it level in the center and drill 1 and 2. And that's all there is to that one. And once again, a really nice joint and extremely strong. This might fail, I'm guessing around 1,500 pounds. So it is overkill, but nevertheless, that's what it is.